In this podcast episode, Ben Shapiro delves into the political landscape following the 2024 election, focusing on the implications of Donald Trump's return to the presidency. Shapiro critiques the current state of the Democratic Party, particularly highlighting President Joe Biden's apparent disengagement from the media and public discourse. He notes that Biden, who recently celebrated his birthday, has been largely absent from the public eye, leading to frustration among journalists who are eager for his commentary on pressing issues. Shapiro discusses the internal conflicts within the Democratic Party, particularly in the aftermath of their electoral losses. He references a heated exchange between Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks and political analyst Alan Littman, who had previously predicted Democratic victories. This exchange exemplifies the disarray within the party as they grapple with the reasons behind their electoral failures. Shapiro emphasizes that the Democrats are struggling to understand the political landscape, which has shifted significantly in favor of Trump and his supporters. Shapiro highlights Donald Trump's rising approval ratings, noting that a recent poll indicated a 54% approval rating for Trump's transition. He argues that Trump embodies the vengeance of the common American against a perceived elite class that has disregarded their needs. Shapiro posits that Trump's appeal lies in his ability to resonate with the frustrations of ordinary citizens who feel victimized by the political establishment. The podcast also touches on contentious social issues, particularly the debate surrounding transgender rights and bathroom access. Shapiro discusses a recent confrontation in the House of Representatives involving Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who has taken a firm stance against allowing transgender individuals to use facilities that do not align with their biological sex. This issue has sparked significant debate within the Democratic Party, with some members expressing outrage over Mace's comments. Shapiro further critiques the advertising strategies of major corporations, using a perplexing Jaguar ad as an example of the left's influence on mainstream culture. He argues that the ad, which features a diverse group of individuals in bizarre outfits, reflects a broader trend of prioritizing fringe ideologies over traditional values. A significant portion of the podcast is dedicated to the backlash against COVID-19 policies and the scientific community's response to the pandemic. Shapiro discusses the rise of Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, a prominent critic of lockdown measures, who is now being considered for a top position in the National Institutes of Health, NIH, under a potential Trump administration. Shapiro argues that the backlash against heavy-handed COVID policies has reshaped conservative politics and elevated new voices that challenge the status quo. Shapiro shifts the focus to foreign policy, particularly the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. He emphasizes Trump's call for peace negotiations between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin, framing it as a necessary step to avoid escalating tensions that could lead to global conflict. Shapiro argues that Trump's approach to foreign policy is pragmatic and focused on American interests, contrasting it with the current administration's strategies. The podcast also addresses the Democratic Party's stance on Israel, particularly in light of recent conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon. Shapiro notes that Biden's administration has remained silent on a proposed UN resolution that could undermine Israel's right to defend itself. He highlights the growing divide within the Democratic Party regarding support for Israel, with some members advocating for more critical positions. Shapiro discusses the economic implications of Trump's potential return, particularly regarding tariffs and trade policies. He mentions the appointment of Kevin Warsh as a possible Treasury Secretary, emphasizing Warsh's focus on free trade and a strong dollar. Shapiro argues that Trump's economic pragmatism will guide his decisions, prioritizing what works for the American economy over ideological commitments. As the podcast concludes, Shapiro reflects on the shifting dynamics in global politics, particularly concerning China. He notes that world leaders are already adjusting their strategies in anticipation of Trump's return, with many expressing concerns about the implications of his policies. Shapiro argues that Trump's approach will prioritize American interests and challenge the complacency that has characterized U.S. foreign policy in recent years.